Arcane Season 2 has finally ended, and we know all of you are waiting for Arcane Season 3. There's both good news and bad news about this. The bad news is that Arcane Season 3 isn't happening because the series was always planned to end after 2 seasons. Netflix hasn't cancelled it. The creators simply designed the story with a clear narrative arc that concludes with the 2nd season. The good news, however, is that the end of Arcane doesn't mean the end of League of Legends stories on Netflix. In fact, there are much bigger plans ahead, as explained by the show's co-creator, Christian Linke. In an interview, Linke revealed that Arcane was intended as a first step, almost like a test to see if they could tell a compelling story in this format. He mentioned that Riot Games is now working on several follow-up projects. They see Arcane as just the beginning, and they plan to expand into other regions and characters of the League of Legends universe. With 169 champions in the game, Arcane only scratched the surface, focusing on Piltover and Zaun, and featuring a small number of champions. This leaves many more stories to explore. Link hinted that some of these new projects might continue the stories of characters introduced in Arcane, but most will branch out into new areas of the League universe. One reason why Arcane is ending with Season 2 is that the creators wanted to avoid dragging the story on indefinitely. Link emphasized that they had a specific story they wanted to tell about Jinx, Vi, and the others. They didn't want to set up a bunch of characters without a clear destination in mind. Instead, they planned the series with a definite endpoint. According to Linke, knowing when to end a story is important, especially for TV shows. They feel they've explored everything they wanted to with these characters, and it made sense to finish the story now. So, what can we expect if there were an Arcane Season 3? Based on the events of Season 2, the story has reached a natural conclusion. The characters we've followed, like Jinx, Vi, Caitlyn, and Victor, have completed their journeys and become the legends that players know from the game. Season 2 wrapped up their arcs, and there aren't many loose ends left to tie up. For example, Jinx and Vi's relationship, which has been central to the series, reached a resolution. Victor's transformation also played out fully, and we saw significant developments with characters like Caitlyn and Ambessa. The series showed how these characters evolved and made the choices that define them in the game's lore. However, there's still potential for new stories set in the League of Legends universe. Linke mentioned that Riot is working on multiple new projects, and some of them will continue character stories from Arcane. This means we might see some familiar faces again, but in different contexts or timelines. There's also a lot of room to explore other regions and champions. Arcane focused on Piltover and Zaun, but the League universe is much bigger. With so many champions to choose from, future series could take us to entirely new places and introduce us to new characters. The future projects won't just be about expanding the world, they'll also build on the success of Arcane. Linke described Arcane as a trial by fire to see if they could create high-quality animated stories. Now that they've proven they can, they're ready to dream bigger. The positive reception of Arcane has given them the confidence to explore more ambitious projects. This is exciting news for fans, because it means we'll get more stories with the same level of quality and depth as Arcane. One thing to keep in mind is that these new projects might take a long time to develop. Animation of this quality is a slow process. Link talked about how difficult it was to convince Netflix to release the episodes in 3-episode batches over 3 weekends. This format is unusual for Netflix, but it worked well for Arcane. It's a sign of how much faith the creators had in their story. They knew it would be worth the wait, even if it took a long time to produce each season. So, while we might not see another League of Legends series for a while, we can expect it to be worth the wait. Looking back at Arcane Season 2, it delivered the emotional depth and plot twists that fans have come to expect. The story picked up a few months after the end of Season 1, showing how the characters had grown and changed. We saw the complicated relationship between Jinx and Isha, as well as Ambessa's role as Caitlyn's mentor. Victor's arc also took a dramatic turn as he tried to create a utopian community. The season was full of intense moments and surprising developments, like Caitlyn's betrayal of Ambessa and Jace's descent into madness. Some plot points, like Echo and Heimerdinger's disappearance, might have benefited from more screen time, but overall, the story felt complete. The season also stood out for its music and visuals. The songs added depth to the story, especially in scenes like the heartbreaking closing moment of Episode 6. The backstory scenes in Episodes 5 and 6 were particularly powerful, showing the history of characters like Vander and Silco. These moments highlighted the themes of family and love that run through the series. While it's disappointing that there won't be a Season 3, the future of the League of Legends universe on Netflix looks bright. The creators have big plans, and we can look forward to seeing more stories from this rich world in the future.